All right, let's dive into a stack of sources today pulled from David J. Schwartz's really impactful book, The Magic of Thinking Big.
Yeah, and this isn't just, another self-help book. It's presented more as um, a practical guide
Right.
centered on one really powerful idea, how the sheer size of your thinking actually shapes everything else.
Yeah.
Your accomplishments, your happiness.
For whole life, basically.
Exactly.
So the core premise we're exploring here is that thinking big isn't just like an option, it's presented as the key to living big.
Mm-hmm.
And our mission really is to cut through, pull out the absolute core principles from these sources, and really see how intentionally directing your thoughts.
Using the methods and examples right there in the book.
Yeah, how that can lead to bigger, more fulfilling results for you.
And it really all starts with what the sources present as the fundamental principle, doesn't it? Belief.
Belief in success.
Yeah.
It sounds almost maybe too simple, but the book just hammers this home again and again.
Mm-hmm.
The most important factor isn't necessarily talent or luck. It's simply whether you believe you can succeed.
That's right. And the sources point out that people who are genuinely convinced they can't do big things,
Yeah.
well, guess what? They prove themselves right.
Yeah. That lack of belief just acts as a ceiling.
A barrier, but the flip side is really powerful. When you do believe, that belief isn't passive. It triggers something.
It triggers the power to actually do it.
Exactly. It's like the book describes belief as a thermostat for your achievement.
A thermostat. Okay.
Yeah, if your internal thermostat is set low, believing you're only capable of, small things.
And that's the output you get.
That's what you'll see in your actions, your results. A low setting shows up as maybe hesitance or minimal effort, playing small.
And this internal dialogue, this self-talk, plays a huge role in that. This idea of Mr. Triumph and Mr. Defeat.
Mm-hmm.
Your self-talk really dictates which one's in the driver's seat.
Right. Telling yourself, oh, this is going to be a tough day, basically invites Mr. Defeat to come in, and suddenly you're, looking for problems.
But saying, okay, today's a great day to tackle this challenge.
That signals Mr. Triumph to step up and start finding solutions. It changes the whole dynamic.
So the key insight here isn't that successful people are some, special breed.
Not at all. They just consciously, or maybe sometimes unconsciously, developed this belief.
They aren't supermen. They just learn not to sell themselves short.
Exactly. The book argues your potential is probably far, far greater than you've allowed yourself to believe up to now.
And what I found fascinating is the idea that big ideas and plans aren't inherently harder than small ones.
You're right. They can actually be easier sometimes.
Really? How so?
Well, the difficulty isn't presented as being in the scale of the goal itself, but more in the scale of the belief you bring to it.
Ah. How?
So the size of your success isn't determined nearly as much by external factors as by the internal size of your belief.
Okay, so if believing you can succeed is the foundation, the starting point, what's the biggest hurdle the book says you face?
Well, it introduces this concept it calls excusitis.
Excusitis. Sounds like a disease.
It's presented exactly like that. A chronic, progressive disease of thinking that finds alibis, finds excuses for failure.
And it gets worse if left untreated.
Yeah, because you actually get better at coming up with excuses the longer you do it.
Wow. Okay. And the sources break this down into some common types, right? Like health excusitis.
Right. Using health as the sort of default excuse for not doing things. The book gives that example of the man who was genuinely convinced he had a bad heart.
Despite the doctor saying he was fine after, 8 x-rays?
Exactly. The reality is pretty much everyone has something imperfect about their health, right? But success-minded people, according to the sources, refuse to surrender to it.
It really comes down to attitude. That anecdote about seeing the man with no feet after feeling sorry for having ragged shoes, that really drives it home.
Mm-hmm. It shifts your focus to gratitude for what you do have health-wise. And the book points to figures like Roosevelt.
Right. Who achieved incredible things despite significant physical challenges. They didn't let it become an excuse.
Then there's intelligence excusitis. People telling themselves they aren't smart enough or they didn't get the right education.
But the argument in the book is that your attitude, your approach, is a much bigger predictor of success than raw IQ.
Totally. They talk about this guy, Phil, who wasn't a genius on paper, but was apparently 3 times more valuable because he knew how to use his brain effectively.
Not just have a brain.
Right. He had enthusiasm. He knew how to get information, how to apply it.
That Henry Ford story is the classic example, isn't it?
It really is. When asked all those specific historical dates, he basically said, why should I clutter my mind with that when I can find a man who knows?
So it's the how-to of knowledge.
Yeah.
Getting it, applying it, that's presented as way more valuable than just possessing facts.
Exactly. Then age is another big one. Age excuse-itis.
Oh yeah, feeling either too young or too old to start something or do something significant.
And the book just pushes back hard on that with these really inspiring examples, like the man who became a minister at 45.
Finding his true calling later in life.
Or the man who got his degree at 55 and went on to become a department chairman. The core message is just crystal clear. It's only too late when your mind believes it is.
Thinking your best years are ahead actually makes them possible.
And the last common excuse type they detail, luck excusitis.
Blaming bad luck for your failures or maybe dismissing other people's success is just pure chance.
Right, and the sources really challenge this thinking. That story about the $112,000 order, it wasn't just luck.
No, it was months of hard work finally paying off.
Exactly. The book urges you to analyze setbacks for causes, for things you can learn from, not just shrugging your shoulders and blaming bad luck. There are almost always human factors involved.
So excusitis is this failure disease. And linked to that, the sources identify fear as like success enemy number one. It's paralyzing.
Absolutely. It stops you from even seeing opportunities sometimes, let alone pursuing them. It stops you taking risks, and it just wears you down mentally and physically over time.
And the core principle the book offers to combat it is incredibly direct, almost blunt.
Action cures fear, period.
While indecision, putting things off.
They just make it worse. They fertilize fear, allowing it to grow and take root.
That paratrooper analogy is so vivid, isn't it? The waiting on the ground, the anticipation, that's the worst part. The jump itself, the action.
That's the relief. It breaks the paralysis.
And the sources introduce this really powerful idea of the memory bank.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Your memory isn't just this passive storage unit. It's presented like a bank teller that retrieves what you ask for.
Based on what you've deposited previously.
Exactly. And unsuccessful people, according to the book, tend to make a lot of negative deposits. They dwell on past failures, mistakes, unpleasant experiences.
So when they need confidence, that's what the teller brings back. The bad stuff.
That's the idea. They retrieve the memories that reinforce the idea that they can't succeed. Successful people, conversely, are described as focusing on past successes, strengths, positive experiences.
Making positive deposits.
Right, so they can retrieve those when they need a confidence boost.
So building confidence, then, is about actively managing this memory bank.
Precisely. It's a two-part process. Deposit only positive thoughts, positive memories. And just as crucially, consciously refuse to withdraw the unpleasant ones. Don't dwell on them.
That story about the psychologist helping the woman see the painting as a sunrise, a new beginning instead of a sunset, an ending.
Yeah, that illustrates how you can actually choose what memories and associations you focus on and retrieve.
And the book gives these really concrete, almost physical ways to act confidently, which then in turn makes you feel more confident. It's like a feedback loop.
Totally, like sitting in the front row. It seems small, right?
Yeah.
But it's a physical act that signals engagement, confidence, a willingness to be seen and participate.
Making eye contact.
Huge one. Direct eye contact is presented as a sign of honesty, conviction, self-assurance. Avoiding it, like that student who cheated.
Right, it signals the opposite. Discomfort, maybe guilt.
Then there's walking 25% faster.
That one sounds a bit funny, but I get the idea.
It's about projecting energy, purpose, importance. The book contrasts this with the slow, shuffling gait of someone who feels defeated or unimportant. Acting like you're important and going somewhere actually makes you start to feel that way.
Practicing speaking up, that feels really important.
Oh, it's huge. The book points out how many good ideas just die in meetings because the person lacks the confidence to voice them.
The conference clam example, we've all seen that or maybe been there.
Exactly. Forcing yourself to speak up even when you're nervous builds that confidence muscle over time.
And smiling. Smiling big.
Yes. The book is a huge proponent of the power of a genuine smile. It's framed as a fear cure, a worry dissolver.
A way to melt opposition. That story about the minor car bumper incident.
Yeah, how a smile just instantly diffused a potentially angry confrontation. The key insight is forcing the smile until the genuine feeling catches up. You act your way into feeling good.
It's also about how you perceive other people, isn't it?
Yeah.
The book suggests having a balanced view.
Remembering everyone is just human with flaws and pressures. And cultivating an understanding attitude.
Like the hotel clerk example.
Right. Most people who seem aggressive or difficult are often just under pressure or using you as a scapegoat for something else. They bark, but the book says very few actually bite. Understanding that helps you not take it personally.
And that last point on confidence.
Hmm.
Doing what your conscience says is right.
Absolutely essential, according to the sources. Guilt is presented as a major destroyer of self-assurance
The student who cheated couldn't focus afterwards.
because he was riddled with anxiety about getting caught. Doing the right thing isn't just presented as, ethical. It's a practical rule for maintaining strong, unwavering confidence.
Okay, shifting gears slightly, but still connected. The sources bring us back to that core idea with how to think big. It's not about your background, your physical build.
No, it's all about the scale of your thinking.
And the book highlights the surprising power of your vocabulary in this.
Yeah, that's interesting. Words don't just describe reality, they actively create it in our minds.
They paint pictures.
Exactly. Using big, bright, positive, cheerful words shapes positive mental pictures. So swapping problem for challenge or expense for investment,
It doesn't just change the sound.
it changes the mental image and the feeling associated with it. Big thinkers use words that create positive, optimistic pictures in their own minds and in the minds of others.
And then there's this idea of stretching your vision and adding value,
Seeing what could be instead of just settling for what is.
like the salesman with the farm property.
Perfect example. Instead of just selling raw land, he helped the prospect see possibilities, envisioning it as a riding stable or a tree farm. That's adding value through an expanded, bigger vision.
Thinking big about your current job, too. That's presented as crucial.
Absolutely. The big view, as the book calls it. It means recognizing the importance of whatever role you're in right now,
Which makes you do it better.
which makes you more valuable, which naturally leads to advancement, more responsibility, money, prestige.
That manager who noticed the people getting recommended for promotion were always the ones who took that big view.
Yeah, they saw their jobs as important and thought on a broader scale than just their immediate tasks.
And the book emphasizes the need to sell yourself to yourself.
This sounds a little quirky maybe, but it's actually very practical. It's about consciously giving yourself daily pep talks.
Focusing on your strengths, your assets.
Exactly, like that automobile salesman who recorded his own little commercial listing his good qualities and listened to it every day. It's about building your internal belief in your own worth and capability.
And a simple way to upgrade your thinking day to day.
Just ask yourself this question. Is this the way an important person thinks? When faced with a thought, a reaction, a decision, especially a small, petty one, consider if it aligns with big, positive, forward-looking thinking, and then, crucially, obey the answer.
It acts as a filter, though.
Yeah, a filter to help you avoid getting bogged down in negativity or small-minded concerns.
Environment is obviously a huge factor in how we think. And the book dedicates a whole section to managing it. Go first class.
Right. It uses that great analogy of the mind being like the body. It reflects the diet you feed it,
So your mind diet comes from your environment.
your surroundings, the people you associate with, the information you consume, and it shapes your habits, your attitudes, your whole personality over time.
The book talks about people sort of surrendering to negative influences.
Yeah, it breaks them down into roughly 3 groups. Those who are completely surrendered, who just rationalize their mediocrity.
Find excuses for why they aren't achieving more.
Then the partially surrendered. Maybe they started with hope but got worn down by negativity. And finally, the ones who never surrender, who keep pushing, keep finding ways around obstacles.
And there's a strong warning in there against negators.
Oh, yeah. These are described as small-thinking people who actively try to discourage others, sometimes subtly, sometimes not so subtly. Often the book suggests it's out of jealousy.
The examples of WW, the draftsman whose colleague kept putting him down, or the constant complainer in the carpool.
They show how easily that negativity can rub off and just drag you down if you're not careful. You have to be really conscious of it and actively protect your positive plans and attitude.
And the flip side of avoiding negators is actively seeking advice from successful people.
Absolutely. Don't take advice on how to get ahead from someone who is, frankly, living a life of failure or mediocrity themselves. Their advice will reflect their own limited thinking.
Like that executive who saw counseling employees not as a distraction, but as a key function of his job.
Exactly. Successful people often value development and helping others succeed. Their advice is likely to be much more constructive.
What about the idea of getting psychological sunshine?
I like that phrase. It means deliberately circulating outside your usual bubble. finding new, stimulating groups, hobbies, activities.
Like John's varied weekends versus Milton's monotonous ones.
Perfect contrast. Variety and engagement are presented as essential food for a healthy, growing mind. Sticking to the same old routine breeds stale thinking,
And getting rid of thought poison. What's that referring to?
specifically gossip. The book is incredibly direct about this
Says it warps your thinking.
and creates guilt. It's labeled as 0% constructive or right thinking. That analogy is sharp. Chopping up your neighbor's furniture doesn't make yours look any better.
So tearing others down doesn't actually elevate you.
Not at all. Talk about people, sure. But the advice is to keep it positive, focus on constructive things.
And the final principle in managing your environment. Go first class.
Yeah, and this isn't necessarily about spending lots of money. It's about choosing quality in everything you do.
Like the businessman switching from the Greasy Spoon diner to a nicer restaurant for lunch.
Right. Or the example of using better polyethylene bags to make grapes look more appealing and command a better price. Quality pays off.
The book argues it often costs less in the long run.
And crucially, it builds your own self-respect, and it earns the respect of others. Thinking first class makes you feel first class.
Now, let's talk about attitudes. Make your attitudes your allies. Attitudes are presented as these mirrors that reflect your mind.
And they communicate constantly, often much louder than your words, through your body language, your tone of voice, your general demeanor.
So first up is developing the I'm-activated attitude, which sounds like enthusiasm.
Exactly, enthusiasm. And the sources give practical ways to cultivate it because it's not always automatic.
Like digging into something deeper.
Yeah, if something seems boring or uninteresting, the advice is to learn more about it. Understanding often breeds interest, which then fuels enthusiasm. You can do this with subjects, places, even people.
And lift up everything about you.
Your smile, your handshake, how you talk, how you walk. Consciously act alive, act energetic, and the feeling follows. It's that action-feeling loop again.
Broadcast good news.
Yes, good news gets positive attention, it pleases people and makes them feel good, and enthusiasm is contagious. Broadcasting bad news, complaining, it just helps no one and drags everyone down.
That sign in the Red Cross Drive office. Give them a good word or none at all.
Sums it up perfectly.
Okay, next, attitude. The you are important attitude. Recognizing that fundamental human craving.
Everyone wants to feel important, feel valued, and the key insight here is that making other people feel important actually helps you feel more important and builds strong relationships.
How do you do that? Practice appreciation.
Genuinely let people know you appreciate them. Thank them specifically. Share praise downwards, don't hoard it. Like that female manager at the sales convention who made sure her whole team got recognition.
Calling people by name. Seems simple but powerful.
It shows you see them as individuals, not just, a face in the crowd or a job title. It acknowledges their unique identity.
Practice courtesy.
Again, simple but profound. Small courtesies, holding a door, offering a genuine compliment like the passenger did to the bus driver. They make others feel better, and they make you feel better about yourself, more positive.
Treat everyone like valued guests, even employees.
Yes, that store example. Treating customers like guests in your home. That applies equally to how you treat people who work for or with you. It builds loyalty and goodwill.
And finally, the service-first attitude.
This one feels a bit counterintuitive maybe, especially in business. The principle is put service first, focus on genuinely helping and providing value, and the money will take care of itself.
Give people more than they expect.
Exactly. That gasoline station attendant who proactively cleaned the windshield offering extra service, that creates loyalty way beyond just pumping gas.
And this is contrasted with a person like FH, who was just focused on being underpaid.
Right. Instead of thinking about how to increase his value through better service, he was stuck in a negative loop about his pay. You have to increase your service value first.
Like the movie producer focusing on making great entertainment, not just the box office numbers. The quality leads to the reward.
Precisely.
This leads perfectly into the next section. Think right toward people.
Yeah, and the basic rule here is presented as non-negotiable for success. Success depends fundamentally on the support of other people.
So to get that support,
you must think right toward them. Your internal attitude towards people shapes how you interact with them, and they sense it.
and the sources suggest that in real-world decisions like promotions or choosing leaders, this likability factor.
Often weighs more heavily than just technical skills or qualifications. The committee discussion example illustrates this perfectly. People choose leaders they feel good about, who they trust and like.
And you can't just buy friendship or goodwill.
No, it has to be genuine. That tire recapping firm owner who got angry about the expensive gift?
Because it felt like an attempt to buy his business, not a genuine gesture.
Exactly. Fake gestures often backfire. Sincerity is key.
So how do you genuinely win friends and support, according to the book?
Primarily by taking the initiative. Don't wait for others. Introduce yourself first. Make sure you get names right, yours and theirs. Maybe even how to spell theirs.
Follow up afterward.
Yeah, a quick note, an email, a call. Just showing you remembered and value the connection. Say pleasant things even to strangers you encounter briefly. Be proactive. Be a little unusual in taking the initiative.
And accept human differences and limitations.
This is crucial. Don't expect perfection from anyone, including yourself. People make mistakes. They have different viewpoints, different backgrounds. The other person has a right to be different.
The book advises strongly against being a reformer.
Yeah, trying to change people rarely works and usually just creates resentment. Focus on understanding and acceptance.
This is where that concept of channel P, the good thought station, comes in, right?
Yeah. Yes, it's a very practical mental technique. When you find yourself thinking about someone, consciously tune in to channel P. Focus on their positive qualities, their strengths, reasons to like or respect them.
And if negative thoughts, channel N, start creeping in.
Deliberately stop them. Switch channels by actively thinking of at least one positive trait. Often, that one positive thought will lead to others and crowd out the negativity. Don't let others prejudice your view either. Form your own positive opinions.
And again, that point about genuineness. You can't just fake liking people.
No way. It shows through in subtle ways: your expressions, your tone, your actions. The insurance salesman who genuinely liked his clients succeeded because that sincerity built trust. Phony friendliness is easily detected.
What about practicing conversation generosity?
Love that term. It means actively encouraging other people to talk about their views, their opinions, their accomplishments, their interests.
The book says big people monopolize listening, small people monopolize talking.
Exactly. Leaders ask questions. They listen intently to understand. Being genuinely interested in others is a powerful way to connect.
And courtesy. Again, practicing it all the time.
It just makes every interaction better, smoother. It makes others feel respected, and it makes you feel better about yourself, too.
Finally, on this topic, don't blame others when you receive a setback.
Ooh, this is a tough one, but critical. How you think when you lose determines how long it takes you to bounce back and win again.
Like that business consultant who lost the contract.
Yeah, because he spoke negatively about the client behind their back, and it somehow got to them. Blaming others teaches you nothing and can actively harm your reputation and future success. You have to own your part.
Okay, let's move into action. The source is present. Get the action habit as absolutely vital.
Yeah, this is presented as the key differentiator between highly successful people, Mr. Activationist, and average or unsuccessful people, Mr. Passivationist.
Executives, leaders, they look for people who will do the job, get results.
Exactly. Ideas are great, plans are great, but they're essentially worthless if they aren't acted upon. And fear is often the thing that buries good ideas if you don't act quickly.
And we circle back to that core principle again.
Action cures fear. Inaction fertilizes fear. It's repeated because it's considered that fundamental.
The book is also really practical about not waiting for perfect conditions.
Yeah, it says basically stop waiting. Perfect conditions never arrive. Expect future obstacles, expect difficulties. But the key is to find solutions when you encounter them.
Not by trying to anticipate every single possible problem beforehand, which just leads to paralysis.
Right. Cross those bridges when you come to them. Don't get stuck analyzing the river from miles away.
So what are the practical techniques for actually building this action habit?
Well, first, consciously use action to cure fear and build confidence. Feeling scared. Take some small action related to it.
Don't wait for the spirit to move you.
Exactly. Use the mechanical approach. Just start the task. Physically begin doing it, even if you don't feel like it. Like the woman who just started doing the dishes without thinking about motivation.
Often, just starting is the hardest part.
And the advice is often to do the least liked task first. Get it out of the way.
Use the mechanical approach for generating ideas too.
Yeah, don't wait for inspiration to strike. Schedule regular time just for thinking, for brainstorming. Make idea generation a habit.
And make decisions. Don't just deliberate endlessly.
Right. Avoid postponing. The sources suggest that often the details and the how start to work themselves out after you've made the commitment to act.
Like JM deciding to buy the house and then figuring out how to get the money. The decision sparked the action.
Exactly. Convert wishing into doing. Turn those wishbones into backbones, as the book puts it.
Okay, but defeat happens. Setbacks are inevitable. So the book addresses how to turn defeat into victory.
And the fundamental idea here is powerful. Defeat is nothing more than a state of mind. It's an interpretation, not a permanent condition.
So it's about how you react. Unsuccessful people stay down.
While successful people get knocked down, maybe just as hard, but they bounce back up.
They learn from it, but then they put the beating behind them.
Yeah, they don't dwell on it. That management consultant example is amazing. Lost his savings, lived in his office, faced countless rejections.
But never thought he was defeated.
He saw it all as learning, as gathering experience. That mindset is key.
And the practical advice is to salvage something from every setback.
Yes, don't just brush it off or blame luck. Research what went wrong. Analyze the situation objectively to understand the cause so you don't repeat the same mistake. Blaming luck teaches you absolutely nothing.
Constructive self-criticism is vital here.
Honestly, identifying your own faults, your weaknesses, areas for improvement, that's how you become more professional, more effective. Like the opera singer who critically analyzed her own performance to get better.
Blaming others gets you nowhere.
You gain nothing from it. You have to look at your own contribution to the situation.
Now, persistence is necessary, obviously, but the book says it's not enough on its own.
Right. It needs to be blended with experimentation.
Meaning?
Stay committed to your overall goal, absolutely. But don't just keep banging your head against the same wall if your current approach isn't working. Be willing to try a new angle, a different technique.
Like the unsuccessful writer who just kept submitting the same type of stories.
Exactly. He had persistence, but he refused to experiment with new styles or subjects, so he never broke through. You need both persistence and flexibility in approach.
And how do you beat discouragement when things inevitably go wrong?
By consciously looking for the good side in every situation, even a bad one. Ask, what can I learn from this? What's the opportunity here?
That transforms negative energy into positive drive.
It really does. Believe solutions are possible. Refuse to say or think it's impossible. Sometimes, the book suggests, you just need to back off for a bit, get some distance, and then start afresh to see new solutions.
Moving towards the end, goals are presented as absolutely essential for growth. Use goals to help you grow.
Yeah, the core idea is that progress, forward movement in life, comes from having clear goals. It's not about where you were or even where you are right now.
It's about where you want to get.
Exactly. Successful individuals, successful companies, they plan years ahead. That desire to get ahead, when channeled by specific goals, is seen as a key qualification for advancement.
And a deeply entrenched goal, one you really believe in, it works its way into your subconscious.
It provides direction, targets, structure. It keeps you on course almost automatically sometimes. Goals get things done.
They provide purpose. That story about Mrs. D battling cancer.
Yeah, her intense goal of seeing her son grow up gave her incredible motivation and strength through immense challenges. Goals can provide that kind of driving force.
And the book reminds us that big accomplishments are built step by step.
Like building a house, brick by brick. Don't get overwhelmed by the sheer size of the ultimate goal. Just focus on the next logical step.
Like Eric Severade writing his book just one paragraph at a time.
Precisely. Break it down into manageable chunks.
The sources suggest writing down specific, tangible goals.
Yes, in different areas of your life, work, home, social, personal development, maybe even a 2-year plan. Writing them down makes them more real, more concrete.
And investing in yourself is critical for reaching those goals.
Absolutely. Education, books, courses, seminars, idea starters, anything that builds your mental power and efficiency.
It's not just about diplomas.
Yeah.
That GE chairman's quote.
Right. Competency matters more than just credentials or stashed facts. It's the how-to of knowledge, the ability to apply what you know that really counts.
And importantly, having alternative plans. Detours.
Yes, this is key. A detour isn't surrendering the goal. It's just finding another route when the main road is blocked.
Like a pilot landing at an alternative airport because of bad weather.
Exactly. You still reach a destination, just via a different path. That flexibility, combined with the goal focus, is crucial.
Okay, finally, the sources wrap up with how to think like a leader.
And the definition of leadership offered is really insightful. It's not about pulling yourself up alone.
It's about being lifted to high levels by the people working with you and for you. Success comes through others.
Right. And the book lays out 4 key leadership principles based on that. First, trade minds with the people you want to influence.
See things through their eyes.
Exactly. Understand their perspective, their interests, their motivations. Only then can you figure out how to effectively get them to act or support your ideas.
The examples of The TV copywriter who forgot the audience, or Joan, the assistant buyer, not considering customer interests.
Show what happens when you fail to do this. You have to constantly ask, what would I think if I exchanged places with this person?
Second principle, think, what is the human way to handle this?
Treat people like human beings, not like machines or cogs in a wheel.
Hmm.
Avoid cold, impersonal rules whenever possible.
Like John S., the engineering executive.
Who built incredible loyalty by genuinely helping his employees with personal issues, finding housing, remembering birthdays, even helping dismissed employees relocate. That personal touch matters. Practice praising people sincerely.
Third, think progress. Believe in progress. Push for progress.
Leaders are fundamentally associated with forward movement, with improvement. They believe things can always be better, and they instill that belief in others.
They set high standards.
In everything they do. The book notes that companies often get revitalized by changing executives at the top because subordinates tend to imitate their superiors' standards and attitudes.
That question to ask yourself, what kind of company would this company be if everyone in it were just like me?
That's a powerful self-assessment tool for anyone wanting to lead. It drives personal responsibility for progress.
And the fourth, and maybe most intriguing principle for leaders.
Take time out to confer with yourself. Develop your supreme thinking power.
Spend time alone just thinking.
Yes. Even the busiest, most successful leaders, the book asserts, schedule regular time for managed solitude, just to think without interruption.
Contrasted with people who seem almost scared to be alone with their thoughts.
Right. That quiet time is presented as a way to tap into your deepest insights, your creativity, your supreme thinking power. It's where you can really think yourself to success. Schedule it like any other important appointment.
Wow. Okay, we have definitely covered a massive amount of ground here, pulling all these insights from the excerpts of The Magic of Thinking Big.
We really have.
And it seems crystal clear, doesn't it? Thinking big, controlling fear, smashing those excuses, getting into action, managing your environment, shaping your attitudes, connecting effectively with people, learning from setbacks, using goals, thinking like a leader.
None of these are presented as innate traits you're just born with.
No, they're framed as learned habits,
Yeah.
intentional ways of thinking and acting that you build through conscious effort and practice.
It really comes down to recognizing that so many of the limits we face are, well, self-imposed. They stem directly from the size and the direction of our own thinking.
So, the final thought for you listening, if your thinking has been acting like a thermostat, maybe setting limitations on what you believed was possible for you, what temperature could you dare to set it to, starting right now?